Welcome to CanHammer, everybody. Today's episode, unboxing and review of the Farstriders. Welcome back to CanHammer, everybody, your source for Shadespire from the Great White North. Today, after some time, and apologies for that, I've been super busy, we will be unboxing and reviewing the Farstriders, the new warband, one of the new warbands for Shadespire. I've been looking forward to these guys. I don't like Stormcast per se, but and I'm certainly not going to paint these guys gold, because after 3 months of painting Custodes, I don't want to paint any more gold. But I'm really excited about these guys in terms of their combination of speed, toughness, and ranged attacks. So I've heard they've been doing pretty well since they've been coming out, and I'm interested to paint these guys up in a slightly alternative sort of black iron look, and to give these guys a run on the table. So we're going to unbox these guys, have a quick look at the models today, and then we're going to look through all the cards and see what's what. So let's get started. So these guys are blue like the other Stormcasts. Very cool models. One has got a tree stump here on this model, which is pretty awesome. Some really detailed cloaks. And just crazy configurations. Again, look at this guy. He's got one arm, half a body, a head, 1/3 of a leg on one side. It's pretty awesome. Of course, like with all Shadespire, these are all push fit. Look at this back piece. There's a cloak and a bird on the back piece. And oh, this guy is actually standing on half a tree trunk, which is right there. So pretty crazy model design. All right, we're gonna pop these guys together and come back. Oh, before we do that, let's have a look at the instructions. So, as usual, very easy to put together, 5 minutes, and yeah, so we'll pop those together and we'll come back. All right, finished these guys up. Took about 8.5 minutes, and now it's gluing. So very easy to do. Once again, GW has done really well in hiding the connections and flashing and mold lines in parts of the model you're not going to see. One issue, I had 2 out of the 3 models. There's the join line through the Stormcast symbol on the right shoulder pad, and in 2 out of the 3 models that doesn't really go together very well. There's still a gap there right in the middle of the symbol, so that's a little bit of an issue. Same with this guy. You can see here, I don't know if you can see on the camera, but there's a little gap there in the symbol, which no matter how hard I push cannot come together. No problems, you can fill that pretty easily. And on the last guy here, that did go together fine. So great models, super detailed as usual. The bases are awesome, the cloaks, everything's really awesome. So great models. We are going to grab the cards and have a look at the decks. Alright, let's have a look at these cards. So first, let's look at the characters. So we'll look at the boss first. Sanson Farstrider. So this dude has 4 movement, which is great, 1 shield, and 4 health. So fast and hard to kill. And he has a melee attack, which is 2 hammers, 2 damage, and a ranged attack, which is 3 hexes, 3 swords, and 1 damage. So as expected, they have to make the ranged attack a little bit weak. Like, you can't be sniping people off for 2 or 3 damage from range without bust, that is. But he's got a kind of standard, maybe slightly weaker Stormcast sort of melee attack. So there's a balance there. And then the inspiration requirement for them is if they end the action phase in enemy territory, which seems very contradictory to the fact that they have ranged attack. In some early testing, some people have claimed that their inspiration is actually a trap and that you should try and play the game, not expect to be inspired in a game. And that may be true. I'll have to do my own playtesting, but certainly their playstyle of kind of hit and run Stormcast may not blend nicely with that inspiration requirement. But not everyone is designed to be inspired, you know. Same with this Poco Guard. I feel like inspiring them by resing them may be a trap, depending on the circumstance. So anyway, that's the boss. Almeric Eagle Eye. So he only moves 3. So the boss moves faster than everyone else, which is interesting. I think that may be the first time we see that they don't all move the same speed. Otherwise, 1 shield, 4 health, same attack profile. So not much difference between the two. Oh, let's look at the boss. When inspired, he goes up to 2 shields, which is pretty good. And his attacks stay the same, except he gains... No, yeah, his attacks stay the same, but he now can use his Star Falcon. It's funny how he just sits there and he can't use it when he's not inspired. And the Star Falcon is 4 hexes, 3 swords, 1 damage, and a crit does +1 damage. So he gets a little bit more rangy when he's inspired. This guy wasn't much different, except he can move 1 less space. When he inspires, his melee attack becomes 3 damage from 2 damage, which is pretty good. And he gains that extra shield on defense. So not too bad. And the last one is Elias Swiftblade, or Elias Swiftblade, and his Storm Saber is 3 swords instead of 2 hammers, 2 damage, and he also only moves 3, so only the boss moves extra fast. And when he inspires, his saber goes up to what happens when he inspires? Literally nothing happens when he inspires. Oh, he gains cleave. He gains cleave on the saber, and that's it, and the extra shield. So I think he's the dangle bro. If there is a dangle bro in here, it's Mr. Swiftblade. Okay, let's have a look at their objectives. So let's have a look at their specific objectives first and see if we can get a sense of play here. So Meticulous Annihilation. Score this at the end phase if all enemy fighters have been taken out of action. 3. In end phase. So there you go. Sigmar's Finest. Score this in an end phase if your surviving fighters, at least 1, are outnumbered by surviving enemy fighters 3 to 1. Okay. Might not be that hard to do. Behead the Beast. Score this in an end phase if your warband took an enemy leader out. Score this in the end phase if you have at least 1 surviving fighter. None of your fighters suffered any damage in the preceding phase, so I think that's pretty easy to do. Close with the enemy. Score this in the end phase if 3 friendly fighters are adjacent to enemy fighters. You probably don't want to do that. Eternal Supremacy. Score it if you hold 3 or more objectives. That's pretty good. 4-3 glory there. That's I think everybody's wanting to run Supremacy these days for that first turn end phase score, and this just gives you 2 chances to score off of it. Lightning Advance. Score this in an end phase if all of your surviving fighters, at least 2, are in enemy territory. So this obviously plays to their inspiration tactic. Punishing Volleys. Score this in an end phase if you made at least 3 successful Bullstorm Pistol or Overcharged Bullstorm Pistol attacks in this phase. Interesting. Because if you're only doing 1 damage, you know, you might have the ability to just sit there and shoot 3 times or 4 times. And Ranger strikes score immediately, so this is the only one that's score immediately so far, if your warband has taken 2 or more enemy fighters out this phase. Okay, so not overly impressed by these guys, certainly not as good as the other Sigmar only objectives. Let's have a look at some of the generic ones. Advancing strike score immediately when you take an enemy fighter standing in enemy territory. Not too bad. With range, that could certainly help you. Unstoppable score immediately if one of your fighters makes a successful attack against someone on guard. I haven't played anybody who's used guard yet, so that might be situational. Balance of power scores immediately when making an attack action in both attacker and the target have 2 supporting fighters. Hard to do. Change of tactics scores immediately if a friendly fighter on guard makes a charge. Maybe better for the other Stormcast faction. Concerted attack scores immediately if 3 or more friendly fighters made an attack action against the same enemy. Again, you might end up doing that. Defensive strike scores immediately when your warband takes an enemy fighter standing in your territory out of action. Definitely doable. These are all immediatelys almost. Score in this end phase if there are at least 3 enemy fighters adjacent to the same friendly fighter. Score in this end phase if all your fighters are inspired. That's going to be hard. Score this in the end phase if you hold 3 or more objectives. So here's another supremacy, except only 2 glory. But if you're an objective warband, you could score like 8 glory off holding 3 if you happen to have those 3. Skirting danger, score this in the end phase if all surviving friendly fighters are on edge hexes. That might be easy to do. Complete victory. Scores in the third finisher if none of your fighters are out of action. Again, that might be easy to do too if you play defensively. Alright, so overall, let's look at some Stormcast ploys. Okay, Farstriders only ploys. Choose an enemy fighter and push them. Okay, always useful. Firm footing. Roll an extra defensive dice for friendly fighters holding objectives. Lightning blow. First attack action has +1 damage. So this is useful because it does their ranged attack too. It doesn't say with range 1 or 2, which a lot of these other type of cards do, but this is a ploy, not an upgrade, so useful. Lightning stride. Double the move characteristics of the first. Okay, so this is like sprint for them, which is useful. Patient defense. First friendly fighter has to be targeted by an attack and has +1 defense. Choose 2 friendly fighters and push them 1 hex. Oh, that's pretty good. 2 guys in 1. Rapid volley. Reaction. Play this after friendly fighters bolt storm or overcharge bolt storm makes an attack. That fighter can make another attack that targets the same fighter. Okay, not bad. Plays into some of the objectives that we've seen. So yeah, so those are their bolt storm pistols, and then those are oh, okay, so bolt storm pistol is bolt storm pistol. So these don't become overcharged bolt storm pistols. So I guess we're going to see how you get an overcharged bolt storm pistol, because there's been 2 cards that mention overcharged bolt storm pistol. Retribution reaction. Play this after an attack action that damages a friendly fighter. That fighter can make an attack action. Not bad. Steady volley. Friendly fighter to make a pistol attack or overcharged pistol attack can be pushed 1 hex before they do so. Decent. Choose a friendly fighter, put them on guard. Okay. That makes them pretty hard to kill though with 2 shield defense, if you're going to do that. So those are Farstrider ploys. Great concussion. Choose a hex on the battlefield, then push all fighters 1 hex in whatever order you choose, moving away from the chosen hex. If there's no hex you can push a fighter into, they do not get pushed. So this is something that's really making the rounds right now. This seems to be a auto take card. If you place your concussion very carefully, you can limit what you end up moving or how you move things, and things can be moved in different directions. So this is a very tricky card, but good card. I think better than Earthquake, because Earthquake just moves everybody in the same direction. Earthquake achieves its function, which is to get people off objectives, but also moves. It can be hard to set up, so this seems like a very interesting card. We'll have to play that. Frozen in time. Choose an enemy fighter and roll a defense dice. 50% of the time, it cannot make any actions or be damaged in this phase. Wow. This, as we said on our podcast, is very good. Lethal Strike. If the first attack action and the next activation is a critical hit, double its damage characteristics. So, could be good. Shard Gale. All fighters suffer 1 damage. So, this also is an interesting card. Spectral Wings. The first fighter to make a move action in the next activation has +2 move. Quick Thinker. Players after an enemy fighter's move action make a move action with a friendly fighter who's not already moved. Pretty good. Inspiration Strikes. Choose a friendly fighter and inspire them. So this is obviously very good. Maybe not so much for these guys, although they become hard to kill if you inspire them. But a lot of warbands would love this. Ephemeral Shield. First friendly fighter to be targeted by an attack action has +1 defense. Improvisation. Discard all power cards in your hand and draw 3 power cards. Pretty good. Twist the Knife. Play this during a friendly fighter's attack action. Has a range of 1. It has a +1 damage. Okay. So overall the ploys are not too bad. Let's have a look at the upgrades for Farstriders. Etheric Step for Farstrider only. Can move through other fighters during move, but have to end up in an empty hex. Furious Blow only for Eagle Eye. During an attack action, the target fighter has failed. This fighter cannot be driven back and can make an attack action. Okay, so that's like, you know, Sepulchral Guard have that, but this is for 1 person only, so I don't like that. Sharp Eyes. This fighter's attack action gains Cleave. Covering Fire. This fighter can support an adjacent friendly fighter targeted by an attack even if it's not adjacent, so that's pretty cool. Lone Warrior. Rolls a support made for this fighter when they are targeted by an attack action. Also count as successes when they are adjacent to no friendly fighters. Interesting. Swift Stride +2 move. Flashing Hand Axe. This is a 3 damage, 2 hammers cleave for Farstrider, which is pretty good. There's his normal attack, so gains an extra damage and cleave. So not too bad an upgrade there. Spinning Strike for Swift Blade. Targets all adjacent enemy fighters. Well-timed Lunge. So this is another for Swift Blade. Same thing as a cleave 3 damage attack. All of the melee attacks though. Oh, here's the overcharged Bolt Storm Pistol. Basically, it goes up to 3 hammers instead of 3 swords, and it gains cleave, so it becomes really quite good ranged weapon, except only 1 damage. So, but there it is. It's an upgrade. A Destiny to Meet. If this fighter is not out of action at the end of the 3rd action phase, gain an additional glory point. So I like that. Anything that gives you additional glory that's not an objective is good. Concealed Weapon. On a critical hit, this fighter's attack action with a range of 1 have +2 damage. That's okay. Regeneration. At the beginning of each action phase, remove up to 1 wound token from this fighter. Interesting card. I think this might go into like orcs, and it makes like Gurzag even harder to kill. Or Stormcast decks. This fighter is considered to have an additional supporting fighter while they're holding an objective. +1 damage to all attack actions with range 1 or 2. After a failed attack action, push them 1 hex. Superior agility. During attack action that could drive this fighter back, you can instead push them 1 hex. The Hallowed Key. So this is the key for objective 1. This is the second last relic, I believe, for Cataphragm's relic set. So Cataphragm's boots. And Shade Glass Spear. So we've been seeing relic decks now with the other deck too. Now we have all 6 relics and people are stacking this on somebody and gaining 4 glory points for it. So we have seen relic decks, as they call them now. Shade Glass Spear, 2 range, 2 hammer, 2 damage, and +1 on critical. So a nice Shade Glass weapon. Okay, well, that's your set. Overall, pretty good. I'm interested to try these guys out, see how it's going. Their cards seem okay, not overly strong. There's some key cards in there like Great Concussion and things like that. So I'd be interested to try some of these cards out in various decks. So I hope you enjoyed that quick read through of the new Farstriders Shadespire box. If you like this video, please click on the like button right about here and consider subscribing to the channel. And if you really like what we do, consider supporting us on Patreon there. Thanks very much for watching. We'll see you next time.